Okay, let's go.
You know what though? That's one of the most beautiful things about MMA is that you get time to work on it and go again. You know, like in boxing, for example, you lose, that's it. Like you're out of the picture. Whereas in MMA, it's like you keep going.
Tom Aspinall and his father have just sent shockwaves through the MMA world with a bombshell message to UFC President Dana White. After a devastating eye poke incident at UFC 321, the Aspinall camp is seriously considering leaving the UFC for boxing and Dana White. He's already responded on Twitter. This situation is developing fast, so make sure you hit that like button and subscribe because you're not going to want to miss any updates on this story. Tom Aspinall was making the first defense of his undisputed UFC Heavyweight Championship against former two-time title challenger Ciryl Gane. The fight was highly anticipated, with both men at the top of their game. But late in the first round, disaster struck. Gane accidentally poked Aspinall in both eyes while attempting a punch. The 32-year-old British champion was unable to continue, and the referee had no choice but to wave off the fight as a no contest. Aspinall retained his belt, but at what cost? Tom's father and head coach, Andy Aspinall, posted an update to his son's YouTube channel, and the news is not good. 3 days after the incident, Tom still has no vision in his right eye. According to Andy, his right eye, he still can't see anything. He said it's just gray. His left eye is about 50%, so one's really blurry and one's still not working.
Almost touched the back of my eyeball.
Can you see it, Google?
Not really. I can't a bit.
Can you read what it says on them doors there?
Nope. So say you've got your eye socket like that, and the eyeball sits in it there, like that.
Yeah.
Felt like his finger hit the back of the eye socket when he pushed it in.
Let that sink in. The UFC Heavyweight Champion currently cannot see out of one eye and has only partial vision in the other. This is his career we're talking about, his livelihood, potentially his entire future. Tom is scheduled for additional tests this week, including a CT scan to check if there's any bone damage around the eye sockets. The medical team believes the bones are intact, but they're still waiting for confirmation.
That's the rate with me.
Yeah, it just puts everything into perspective. Like where we're going here, I can't see. Well, it's a dangerous sport, man.
You were saying it's scarier than what you did to your
It's
leg.
way scarier than what I did to my knee, because you know that the knee's just going to be all right, whereas your eye, still don't know how it's going to be.
But here's the kicker. In November 2024, the UFC reverted back to the original glove style, which hadn't had a major redesign since becoming mandatory way back in 1997. That's right, fighters are essentially using 28-year-old glove technology in 2025. When Dana White was asked about eye pokes at Saturday's post-fight press conference, his response was dismissive at best. No matter what you do with the glove, they're going to happen.
Only Tom knows what happened. Could he see? Couldn't he see? Could he continue? I can't make people fight if they feel they've been injured. After the Jones fight, a lot of people wrote Ciryl Gane off. He looked damn good tonight. I mean, he had Tom bloodied up, and Tom didn't want to continue in the fight. The rematch is very interesting.
That statement is not sitting well with fighters, fans, or the Aspinall family, and it might have just lit the fuse on a massive bomb. And here's where this story explodes into something much bigger. Andy Aspinall has made it crystal clear. He does not want his son to re-sign with the UFC. In a recent interview with RMC Sport Combat, when asked if he'd prefer Tom to be an MMA or boxing champion, his answer was emphatic. Boxing for sure. Why? The Money Andy revealed that Tom has only 3 fights left on his current UFC contract, and he stated bluntly, "I don't want to sign a new contract personally." He continued, "If you get into the top percentage of that sport, the UFC doesn't pay anywhere near as much as boxing does. I'd love him to have a very highly paid boxing match for the money. The UFC ain't paying that type of money."
And maybe fight a Tyson Fury, maybe fight a Deontay Wilder?
I don't know if he does, but I think if you get into that top percentage of the sport, the UFC do not pay anywhere near as much as the boxing does. And I know from being around Tom every day that when he spars good boxers, he spars good.
He's sharp, he's explosive.
And when he goes in a ring or a cage, he spars much better than when he's sparring to look.
And you know what? He's absolutely right. Look at Francis Ngannou. The Predator made around $20 million fighting Anthony Joshua in boxing. That's more than he made in his entire UFC career. Despite losing the fight, nobody in MMA is making those kinds of purses. Tom Aspinall himself has addressed this, though he's been more diplomatic. He said he has a lot of work to do in the UFC and plans to be there for a long time. But that was before this eye injury, before watching his father express genuine fear about his son's sight, before the UFC's apparent unwillingness to seriously address the glove issue.
There isn't two belts anymore in the division, which is great. There's one face, one name in the division, and to me, that's what separates MMA from other sports, other fight sports at least. Is that, for example, in boxing, you can have like 5, 6, 7, 8, even sometimes different organizations. You've got the WBO, the WBC, the IBO, the IBF, and all these different ones that I don't even know about. And they all have different champions in each organization. Whereas generally speaking, the number one guy in the world is the UFC champion.
Here's something many people don't know. Tom Aspinall actually had a professional boxing match before joining the UFC. In 2017, he fought Hungarian boxer Tamás Bajzát in Manchester and won by brutal first-round stoppage. He's also sparred extensively with Tyson Fury. The man has legitimate boxing credentials. Now, according to our sources, Dana White has responded to this situation on Twitter, and his message was, well, let's just say it probably didn't calm things down. While we can't show the exact tweet here due to verification, reports indicate Dana defended the UFC's safety record and doubled down on his position that eye pokes are part of the sport, no matter what changes are made.
He doesn't have detached retina. There's no damage to the eye. So, he should heal up soon, and we'll figure out when we can make the fight again. He's at home. He's recovering. And as soon as he's able to fight again, we'll book the rematch.
This is not the response the Aspinall camp was hoping for. Andy Aspinall has been vocal about wanting his son to retire healthy and financially secure, watching Tom lose his vision, even temporarily, while the UFC president shrugs and says, these things happen is not going to inspire confidence. The tension between fighter safety, fighter pay, and promotional interests has never been more apparent. Let's talk about what's really at stake here. Tom Aspinall is the UFC Heavyweight Champion. He's 32 years old, in his prime, and has never seen the third round in any of his 9 UFC fights. He's one of the most exciting, explosive finishers in the sport's history. Losing him to boxing would be a massive blow to the UFC's heavyweight division, which is already in flux after John Jones's retirement. But this isn't just about one fighter. This is about a larger issue. Are UFC fighters properly compensated for the risks they take? Is the UFC doing enough to protect fighter safety? And when a champion's father, who is also his coach and manager, publicly states he doesn't want his son to re-sign, that sends a message to every fighter on the roster. The UFC just signed a new deal with Paramount, and there's speculation this could increase fighter purses. But will it be enough to compete with boxing's mega paydays? Francis Ngannou's crossover success has shown fighters there's a different path available.
Yeah, I think that eye poke makes a lot of news, more than a fight itself. More than the announcement of the fight. And it was a very controversial feeling. And I understand that there was a lot of frustration, basically on the fan side, that was so excited to see the outcome. but there was definitely an eye poke and a compromised vision from Tom. So I think for the normal decision in that position is not to fight, because the eye poke is not like, you get kicked in the ball and then you can recover and come back. It's not like a pain. It's like it compromise your vision. And if you're doing a combat sport with a compromised vision, it's not good at all, because even though sometimes your vision is up 100% and then you still don't see anything. What if your vision is compromised? Then if you keep doing and then...
Tom Aspinall's the guy. He's the guy.
And what about Francis Ngannou? You having him? You want some?
The day that I start ducking out of fights and turning opponents down and stuff like that is the day that I'm going to retire. I'll fight anyone, I'll fight anytime, and I'll fight anywhere. Never turn down a fight in my life. Never will. The day that I start thinking about turning down fights is the day that I'll retire. So to answer the question, whoever they want me to fight is who I'm going to fight.
Francis Ngannou just dropped a massive bombshell that's shaking the entire UFC heavyweight division. The former champion has officially backed Tom Aspinall following the controversial eye poke incident at UFC 321. But why is he defending him?
You said that you wanted a boxing champion.
Yeah, for sure.
You're okay with an MMA champion, but you wanted a boxing champion.
Boxing for sure. The money is...
More money. Yeah.
More money. Why not?
Would that be an outcome for him? No.
He's 3 more fights on the contract now.
Okay. So,
And I don't want to sign a new contract.
okay.
Personally.
So that's why, because I asked him. You always talk about Stipe Miocic that had 3 defenses. Would he have 4? But he said no. It's not in my mind.
Yeah, no. Only one fight. We only ever think one fight. Ciryl, win, lose, next fight.
I'm excited to say Andy told me Tom will be a boxing champion by.
Here's where it gets wild. Sources suggest Tom Aspinall and his father are considering leaving the UFC. And with Francis Ngannou publicly supporting him, fans are now asking, is an Aspinall vs. Ngannou super fight officially in the works outside of the UFC? Tom Aspinall's response will absolutely shock you. Stick around because we're breaking down everything in today's video.
Ngannou is, in my opinion, one of the most dangerous punchers ever. He is an absolute physical specimen. I thought he was just dangerous with the little gloves on. He comes in from all angles, he throws all over the place, he's a little bit wild. And then obviously when he put the boxing gloves on, the 10 ounces, obviously that transferred over, and the guy is just an absolute truck. And I think that one of the things that is most dangerous, someone from my perspective, who is obviously an MMA fighter, I've sparred a lot of rounds with Tyson Fury, a lot of rounds with other professional high-level boxers. And the success that I have, personally, is when I do unorthodox things. Boxers, they've been sparring, they've been fighting since they're young. Let's say they're 30 years old, they've been sparring and fighting since they were 10. Most boxers have very similar styles. They're working behind a jab, a double jab, a 1-2, a 1-2 left hook, traditional stuff. Whereas MMA fighters, they're throwing punches on angles that they're not used to. They're doing unorthodox.
Let's set the stage. At UFC 321 in Abu Dhabi, Tom Aspinall was making his first defense of the undisputed heavyweight championship against Ciryl Gane. Everything was going smoothly until disaster struck. In the first round, Gane accidentally poked both of Aspinall's eyes during an exchange. The damage was severe. Tom couldn't see properly, and officials had no choice but to rule the bout a no contest before the round even ended.
If Francis was to come back to the UFC, how do you think he would do against Aspinall?
Well, Francis is just one of those humans that I feel like if he touches anything around this circumference right here, that most people go to sleep. So, I think that's a fight that I think the world would want to see.
All right,
thank you. Like the question.
Now here's where the drama exploded. The MMA community was divided. Some fans and fighters criticized Aspinall for not continuing. Even John Jones, the man who avoided fighting Aspinall for over a year, came out and took shots at the British champion for stopping the fight, but not everyone agreed with that take.
The UFC is lacking in star power when it comes to the heavyweight division. I think enough time has passed. I would love to see somehow, some way that they can mend these fences and get back in competing in the UFC.
Dude, what a fight that would be. Seems like Francis wants to come back. But even Francis, who's like the greatest, scariest power striker I've ever seen in the heavyweight division. No one's scarier than Francis. Francis does not move like Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall is significantly faster than every other heavyweight. That's a real problem.
I'm waiting for the PFL these days. I think by mid-November, they will tell me exactly where we are at. But so far, nothing. Basically now on MMA.
Enter Francis Ngannou, the former UFC heavyweight king who knows a thing or two about controversy and leaving the UFC on his own terms. In a recent interview with TMZ Sports, Ngannou didn't hold back in defending Aspinall's decision. Here's what he said. Tom Aspinall was in a lose-lose situation. If he kept fighting and lost, fans would have said how stupid he was for fighting with compromised vision.
Yeah, I think that eye poke makes a lot of news, more than a fight itself. You know, more than the announcement of the fight. And it was a very controversial feeling. And I understand that there was a lot of frustration, basically on the fan side that was so excited to see the outcome. But there was definitely an eye poke and a compromised vision from Tom. So I think for the normal decision in that position is not to fight, because the eye poke is not like, you know, you get kicked in the ball and then you can recover and come back. It's not like a pain. It's like it compromise your vision. And if you're doing a combat sport with a compromised vision, it's not good at all, because even though sometimes your vision is up 100% and then you still don't see anything. What if your vision is compromised? Then if you keep doing and then...
Ngannou made it crystal clear. This wasn't just some minor inconvenience. He explained that eye pokes are completely different from other injuries. The eye poke is not like you get kicked in the balls and you can recover and come back. It compromises your vision. And if you're doing a combat sport with compromised vision, it's not good at all.
Maybe because of that, something happened, you lose the fight. The same people will tell how stupid you were, you should have stopped, you should have blah, blah, blah. So I think it's just a frustration, explaining their frustration. But although there was an eye poke that should be respected, you know, non-intentional, of course, but there was an eye poke that definitely causes damage and affected vision.
The Cameroonian powerhouse emphasized the danger factor. You can't see punches coming. Your timing is off. Distance management becomes nearly impossible. Fighting blind in the octagon, that's asking for serious, potentially career-ending trouble. Now here's where things get really interesting. While Francis is publicly backing Tom, rumors have started swirling about the Aspinall camp's frustration with the UFC.
Francis is in Vegas?
Yeah.
Any possibility that you and Francis?
I think that in the next few years, we're going to see some really good fights with the heavyweights.
Francis Ngannou has a contract with the PFL. Now they could co-promote.
Think about it. Tom has been the interim champion, defending his belt while John Jones held the division hostage for 19 months, refusing to fight him. Dana White and the UFC kept pushing the Jones narrative, despite Aspinall being the clear #1 contender. Then when Jones finally retired and Aspinall got elevated to undisputed champion, his first title defense ends in controversy through no fault of his own. And what happens? He gets criticized by the very fighter who ducked him.
So many options for Francis. I think that he can help bridge that gap that the UFC is lacking in star power when it comes to the heavyweight division. You know, I think enough time has passed. I would love to see somehow, some way that they can mend these fences and get back in competing in the UFC.
What about Francis Ngannou? You having him? You want some?
The day that I start ducking out of fights, turning opponents down and stuff like that is the day that I'm going to retire. I'll fight anyone, I'll fight anytime, and I'll fight anywhere.
Seems like Francis wants to come back. But even Francis, who's like the greatest, scariest power striker I've ever seen in the heavyweight division. No one's scarier than Francis. Francis does not move like Tom Aspinall.
Could this be the breaking point? Francis Ngannou himself left the UFC over similar frustrations. Contract disputes, not getting the fights he wanted, feeling undervalued. He went to the PFL, made more money, and even got to box Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. Is Tom Aspinall looking at the same playbook? This brings us to the bombshell question everyone's asking. Could we see Aspinall versus Ngannou outside the UFC? Here's what makes this fascinating. Back when Tom was asked about a hypothetical fight with Francis, he said, "That's a great fight. I've always been a big fan of Francis. I love his story. Love what he's all about. I think it's a 50-50 fight, to be honest. Francis is a scary man, but I think technically I would take the edge.
What about Francis Ngannou? You having him if you want some?
Do you want some? I'll give it you.
The day that I start ducking out of fights, turning opponents down and stuff like that is the day that I'm going to retire.
John Jones called us last night and retired.
I'll fight anyone. I'll fight anytime. And I'll fight anywhere.
Seems like Francis wants to come back, and he says he changed his mind. Would you be open for him to come back if he really wants to, and then if he says okay to your...
Francis Ngannou has a contract with the PFL. Now they could co-promote.
There's so many options for Francis. I think that he can help bridge that gap that the UFC is lacking in star power when it comes to the heavyweight division. I think enough time has passed. I would love to see somehow, some way that they can mend these fences and get back in competing in the UFC.
We have heard that, there's anything. He doesn't have detached retina. There's no damage to the eye. He's at home. He's recovering. So he should heal up soon, and we'll figure out when we can make the fight again.
The UFC and Dana White just dropped a massive bombshell about the Tom Aspinall versus Ciryl Gane disaster at UFC 321. A championship fight that ended in chaos, a heavyweight champion who couldn't see. But here's where it gets controversial. Some UFC fighters are calling this eye poke fake. Why? Because hours after the fight, Aspinall was spotted having dinner with his family, eyes looking perfectly fine.
You know John Fury?
I know John Fury. Yeah.
In fact, tell me if this is true or not. My cousin's a big MMA fan. And he went, ask him about John Fury, a parking ticket.
John used to buy and sell cars. I don't know if he still does. And I had this old Merc in it. It was a proper banger. It had like 200,000 miles on it.
Right.
I asked him if he wanted to buy it. And he said, yeah, I'll have it off you 250 quid. I was like, yep, cool, no problem. So he got it. And I didn't change the, what's it called, like the document. So it still said that I was the owner. Yeah, it still said that I was the owner. And he got a parking ticket or a speeding ticket or something. And I had to ask for the 50 quid off him.
You had to call up John Fury?
No, I spoke to him face to face, but I had about 5 attempts at it because he's such a big, scary guy. I was like, right, I'm going to ask him now. Right, John, do you? And then I was like, oh, no, I'm going to have to ask him in a minute when there's no one around. I mean, to be fair, he just gave me the money. He said, yeah, no problem, of course, give me the money.
He'll make us heavyweights look like bad. This make me a little bit upset because this is my division is our profession. Like he make look like bad heavyweights, in our division, because like we are big guys, strong guys. And this guy poke you in the eye one time, they give you like 5 minutes to recover, and you pull out of the fight. It's like, he'll make us heavyweights look like bad.
Valter Walker didn't hold back. Tom made the heavyweights look bad. Because we are big guys, strong guys. This guy poked you in the eye one time. They gave you 5 minutes to recover, and you pulled out of the fight. He made us heavyweights look bad. What the hell is going on? Is this a legitimate injury or championship jitters? And here's the kicker. Years ago, Aspinall's own training partner Ante Delia pulled the exact same move after an eye poke, except his opponent kept fighting and won. Dana White has his own opinion on this mess, and trust me, you're not going to believe what he just said. Stay tuned, because this story gets even crazier.
And we saw it with Neil Magny and Jake Matthews in Perth. Mark Ratner joins us. Mark, what is going on right now?
It's an inadvertent eye poke.
Round 1 starts, and Gane comes out swinging. He bloodied Aspinall's nose early, looking sharp, looking dangerous. For the first time in Aspinall's career, he's facing real adversity in the octagon. Remember, this guy has finished 6 opponents in the first round. He's never been to a third round.
They've got to do something about these eye pokes. The rule is you got to have your hands like this, but you can still have your fingers out straight. You can't do that. You can do that. That's the stupidest rule I've ever seen in my life. Make a fist. Simple as that. You're throwing punches, and yeah, you got to parry shots, but you just got to unbend your fingers. It's really not that hard. This is a stupid rule.
5 minutes. That's how long Aspinall had to recover. 5 full minutes. But when the doctor checks on him, Aspinall says he still can't see clearly. The fight is waved off. No contest. The arena erupts in boos. Fans who paid hundreds of dollars to see a championship fight just watched it end in under 5 minutes. Now here's where Dana White drops the bombshell that has everyone talking. In an interview with Jim Rome, White was asked about the UFC 321 main event. His response? Devastating. When your main event is heating up and looks like it'll be a really good fight and it ends with an eye poke, that's brutal.
That was devastating.
Right?
When your main event and it's heating up and it looks like it's going to be a really good fight, and then it ends with an eye poke, and that's how the fight ends. It's brutal. He's at home, he's recovering, and as soon as he's able to fight again, we'll book the rematch.
I was going to say, how long before he can fight again, and can we assume that you're going to run that back and book a rematch?
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, we haven't heard that there's anything. He doesn't have detached retina. There's no damage to the eye. So he should heal up soon, and we'll figure out when we can make the fight again.
But then White said something that sent shockwaves through the MMA community. I can't make people fight. If I want to put together a fight, I can't make people fight. And you definitely can't make somebody continue if they feel they've been injured. Only Tom knows what happened. Could he see? Couldn't he see? Could he continue? Only Tom knows that.
I can't make people fight, right? If I want to put together a fight, I can't make people fight, and you definitely can't make somebody continue if they feel they've been injured. Only Tom knows what happened. Could he see? Couldn't he see? Could he continue? Only he knows that.
Read between the lines, folks. Dana White, the guy who backed Aspinall for the undisputed title, is now questioning whether the eye poke was as bad as Aspinall claimed. White even said Tom didn't want to continue after praising Gane for bloodying his nose early.
Drew, your thought process and what you're feeling right now.
Guys, I just poked knuckle deep in the eyeball. Why are you booing? What am I supposed to do about it? I didn't do poke. I can't see.
Tom, they should not be booing. I agree with you. You waited a long time for this moment. Talk to the disappointment of this being how it ends.
Listen, the fight was just getting going.
The criticism isn't just coming from Dana White. Fellow UFC fighters are tearing into Aspinall, and leading the charge is heavyweight contender Walter Walker. Walker, who just extended his insane 4-fight heel hook streak at UFC 321, didn't mince words. This makes me a little bit upset because this is our division. This is our profession. He makes the heavyweights look bad.
He'll make us heavyweights look like bad. This makes me a little bit upset because my division is our profession. Like he make look like bad heavyweights, in our division, because like we are big guys, strong guys. And this guy poke you in the eye one time, they give you like 5 minutes to recover, and you pull out of the fight. It's like, he'll make us heavyweights look like bad.
But here's what makes Walker's criticism so brutal. He fought on the same card with a broken fibula. That's right. Walker revealed he fractured his leg during his fight with Louis Sutherland, but kept fighting until he secured the submission victory. Walker drew an analogy to Roman gladiators. Before, guys used to fight to death. And now, you don't need to fight to death. There's one guy to save your life. I broke my leg and felt something was wrong, but I kept fighting to the finish. But this guy has a poke in the eye and pulls out of the fight? He makes us heavyweights look bad.
First and foremost, it was a foul, and Ciryl Gane's the one to blame for it. But from the optics and the way that it looked, his eye was closed when he got poked in it. He was saying he couldn't see, and he wasn't even trying to open his eye to see if he could see. Obviously, I have no idea. I'm not there, but you see the pictures afterwards, his eye looks fine. I've seen a whole finger go in someone's eye, and they keep fighting, right? So I don't know. I mean, it's all speculation. You know what I mean? It's all speculation. But I feel like he might have taken the easier way out. It's a no contest. You got to come back. He gets paid $3 million. You know what I mean?
And Walker isn't alone. Former fighters Anthony Smith and Chael Sonnen working the ESPN analyst desk took their own shots at Aspinall. Sonnen said, being poked in the eye is illegal, but to fight with one eye is very common. You're the heavyweight champion of the world. You've got to fight with one eye at times. I thought the fight was turning out to be a little bit harder than perhaps Tom had expected.
Wanted to be interesting if Tom came out and said, no, I'm not going to rematch him. He's a cheater. Why would I rematch a guy that already cheated, that violated not one of my eyes, but both? I gave him his chance. He chose to cheat, and I'm going to move on. If Tom took that stance, which he's not going to do, I'm saying, but for fun, I think he'd have a lot of people that supported him. For some reason, Ciryl has come out of this thing with his hands clean. He's the one that did the poking.
Smith recalled his own eye poke against Ryan Spann. I just walked away and said, let's fight. You either want to or you don't. My fight wasn't for a world title. You never say, I can't see if you want to continue to fight.
Being poked in the eye is illegal, Brendan, but to fight with one eye is very common. The opponent's trying to hit your eye. He's trying to bust up and make your nose bleed. So that part of it does have question for guys like Anthony and I. We're trying to be polite. We're trying to show grace. But in all fairness, if you're the heavyweight champion of the world, you got to fight with one eye at times.
I'm not saying it's Tom's fault, and I'm not going to, pretend that I know how bad it is or isn't. I think Chael made a poetic point that you have to be used to or willing to fight with one eye. I did it in Singapore. You never say, I can't see if you want to continue to fight.
I feel as Tom's a great athlete, but I do feel like he's a one-trick pony.
When you look at people talking shit online, he's ducking this guy or he's dodging this guy, they haven't seen the work that you've done in the past and how dominant you've been. We know you're not ducking this guy. Talk to me about what you saw in his fight with Gane. Because Gane looked like he was controlling the fight.
Was Ciryl Gane?
Yeah.
I believe that his wrestling and jiu-jitsu is incredibly overrated. He has a beautiful 1-2. I got to learn a lot about his patterns in his last fight. Beautiful 1-2. That's really about it. He couldn't touch Ciryl Gane at all. That's the way I felt. I felt like Gane was just getting warmed up. Gane's hands was down. He's shaking his shoulders, bouncing around.
He was touching him.
That jab.
He busted him open. I think Tom was looking for a way out, and he took it. He needs to change his game plan.
When Tom gets hurt, he's like immediately incapacitated.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he poked my eye, and then he's like immediately. There was no like
trying. He didn't try.
Trying. Same thing with Curtis Blaze. When he hurt his knee, there was no limping. There was no trying to get up. It was just like immediately.
Yep.
Burn my village. I can't go on. Immediately quit.
All right, so John Jones is back at it. He's calling Tom Aspinall overrated, calling him a quitter, saying that he is very, very simple. He's basic. The man's a quitter. Look at Ciryl Gane, right? He was just getting comfortable.
Tom's a great athlete, but I do feel like he's a one-trick pony. I believe that his wrestling and jiu-jitsu is incredibly overrated.
We all know why he's saying this. Obviously, UFC 321, Tom Aspinall got poked in the eye. We've been over this many, many times, so I won't repeat it. Incidentally, Ciryl Gane is back in the gym. He's training again. He's hitting the pads. He's working. So does that mean that we might have news of a rematch pretty soon between Tom Aspinall and Ciryl Gane? I, for one, certainly hope so.
A few moments later.
He's at home. He's recovering. And as soon as he's able to fight again, we'll book the rematch.
John Jones just dropped the most brutal bombshell on Tom Aspinall that may just end his career. The former two-division champion is not holding back anymore, folks. Jones just called Aspinall an average fighter who quit after one little eye poke.
Tom Aspinall's title fight against Ciryl Gane ended with a bit of a letdown after being ruled a no contest when Aspinall was unable to continue after what is certainly one of the worst-looking, not single, but double eye pokes I've seen in the sport.
The best part about fouling, right, is that it works. So the best thing you can do is keep your head in the game, and I'll do everything I can to manage it.
All that training for that. Yeah. Don't worry about it.
Gonna be okay, mate.
What is he doing?
The left one was really deep. The left one was really deep.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
You got one twice before it.
Yeah,
twice before he got one for it.
Mike Bisping, he lost his eye. It's just a horrendous thing to think as a parent, really. And I know what it's like these days with people saying what they want, but if it's just your son and they could lose an eye and their health and they've got children to look after.
And that's not even half of it. Jones is trolling Aspinall like never before. We're talking horses with eye patches, duck profile pictures, and some of the most savage takedowns we've ever seen in MMA trash talk history. All right, let's get straight into what John Jones just said, because this is brutal. On the No Scripts podcast, Jones didn't just criticize Tom Aspinall, he absolutely dismantled him. And I'm talking about career-threatening allegations here.
I feel as Tom's a great athlete, but I do feel like he's a one-trick pony.
Talk to me about what you saw in his fight with Gane. I mean, because Gane looked like he was controlling the fight. In
With Ciryl Gane?
Yeah.
I believe that his wrestling and jiu-jitsu is incredibly overrated. He has a beautiful 1-2. I got to learn a lot about his patterns in his last fight. Beautiful 1-2. That's really about it. He couldn't touch Ciryl Gane at all. That's the way I felt. I felt like Gane was just getting warmed up. Gane's hands was down. He was shaking his shoulders, bouncing around.
He was touching him.
That jab.
He busted him open. I think Tom was looking for a way out, and he took it. He needs to change his game plan.